Is the trans phenomenon at an end? Well, we had two contradictory signals in the transgender theater of the culture wars in recent weeks. Most recently, the forces of the Delulu community fought their way to the top of a small to mid-sized cultural hill when Glamour magazine UK put on their cover a bunch of betitted men wearing lots of makeup and called them Women of the Year. Whee! Anything goes. For some reason, the cover called to mind the orphanage director, Miss Hannigan, who was played by Carol Burnett in the 1982 movie version of Annie. She flounces around in her knickers, bitter, drunk, and ridiculous, fantasizing about harming little girls and lamenting the fact that she can't get a man. It's actually a very drag queen performance. I'm sure there's a drag queen Miss Hannigan out there somewhere, which is how it should be. But I digress. The Delulu snipers on X thought they had J.K. Rowling in their sights and took their shot, posting "Stay Mad, J.K." on Twitter. Unfortunately for them, they accompanied it with a photograph of Bergdorf Goodman, I mean Monroe Bergdorf, a man who looks like the Joker was his plastic surgeon, thus showing the entire world once again that plastic surgery and a wig do not cure crazy. Doctors, take note. In addition to choosing a photograph that made their own cover girl look terrible, the Delulu Recce team failed to pick up on the fact that J.K. Rowling is a turf super soldier and cannot be taken down by a lazy derivative two-word tweet. Other fellows who appeared on the cover showed a similar lack of concern with being liked by regular people, as evinced by the editors of Glamour. Especially a chubby gay of color who used his accompanying interview to demand we give him money for his chubby gayness. Does he not know that there's a cost of living crisis? Maybe just go easy on the fake eyelashes, dude. Times are hard for all of us. My turfy sisters are going to be so mad at me for saying this, but I feel sorry for these ridiculous dudes. It's also pathetic. Imagine hating yourself so much that you would rather surgically remake yourself into a nightmare clown. And in so doing, you only end up with something far more grotesque than whatever perfectly fine body you were born with. Their twisted, sinister homage to femininity that they carve into their bodies fails to convince anyone but foolish sycophants. All they are left with is a rapidly aging and now deformed body. They know this, we know this, all the world knows this. No wonder they hate us, because they ain't us. The Glamour editors, who I'm guessing are some kind of combo of middle-aged cringe queens desperate to keep up with the times and barely literate 22-year-olds ruthlessly on the hunt for oppression points, they made a further tactical error. They proudly displayed what has to be the creepiest slogan ever deployed: "Protect the dolls." This phrase has been doing the rounds for a while and strikes me really as piss poor marketing. Protect the dolls? You mean those inanimate objects that are used as playthings for a few years and then discarded? That's rather revealing, no? Anyway, the Delulu community thought they had superior firepower, but the Glamour cover does not add up to much more than a glancing blow on those of us in team reality. Having a pretty famous woman on the cover is the only reason chicks bought those publications in the first place. Women want to look at other women who we perceive as better than us. We don't want to look at a bunch of delusional men for whom we have pity. Plus, do people even spend money on magazines anymore? I can see silicone tits on Instagram for free, so why would I buy your trashy mag? Ultimately, the gravest error the Glamour magazine crew makes is failing to understand the terrain, which is akin to invading Russia in June. They think they're on solid ground, but really they are marching towards quite an inhospitable landscape. Which brings me to my second signal, which is a sign of that changing terrain. A few weeks ago, social scientist Eric Kaufman from the Center of Heterodox Social Science released a report called The Decline of Trans and Queer Identity in Young Americans. The report takes in numbers from 5 large data sets, both from elite schools and colleges and non-elite. And as the title states, it finds that fewer young people are now identifying as trans and non-binary. Numbers of gay and lesbian identifying young people in the data are stable, but today's college freshmen, the report states, are less BTQ plus than today's college seniors. The report says that the peak years for kids identifying as trans and non-binary were between the 2010s and the early 2020s. The single biggest year was 2023. The study also claims that this is a cohort-led decline and does not see evidence that it is because young people are shifting to the right politically or becoming more religious. This is very interesting. To me, it's basically evidence that the trans phenomenon in young people, which is very different from the straight men who transition in middle age, was basically a social contagion that is now burning itself out. From my tiny sample size of young people, both trans and non-trans, who I've spoken to about these issues, the study bears out what I see. I have spoken to several detransitioners who were just unhappy and confused young people, longing for community and an identity, and found that in the trans movement. Belonging and validation are a hell of a drug. But then that youthful fervor passes away, and in the cold light of day, they see madness, and they move on with their lives as best they can. For normal, well-adjusted kids who are not in the grips of other emotional problems or who are victims of abuse, for example, what could the trans movement possibly offer them? It's weird, it's lame, and they just want to live normal lives. They do not want they-them energy. Nature is healing. To answer my own question about the dangers posed by trans ideology have not been defeated. Not by a long stretch, and the glamour cover is just more evidence of that. Though they do resemble the last Japanese soldiers left on the Pacific Islands, fighting on because they did not realize the emperor had fallen. I do hope that the everyday men and women who went to war against this malignant and very well-funded ideology get their proper due someday. I hope to see a Nuremberg-style trial for the henchmen who tried to destroy our children. I hope doctors are prosecuted. I hope legislators and influencers have their reputations ruined in perpetuity. Kaufman's report begs the question, if more adults had simply held the line and said to their young people, those who had fallen under the spell, no, you can't change your sex. That's a patently ridiculous idea. And no, I'm not going to be talked into giving you puberty blockers by some doctor. How many thousands of kids would have simply grown out of it? Likely the majority of them. What a moral calamity. What a stain. Thank you for listening. And if you liked it, join me over on Substack at jennieeholland.substack.com. And thank you for saving culture with me.